So many video games release every month that it can be nearly impossible to keep track of them. More importantly, the deluge usually means that at least a few really good games get buried under the tide. Now, depending on how this video is received, I'm going to attempt to pick through the massive new releases each month and point out 5 that I think look really interesting. And the great thing about this list is that every game on it is available right now. Now, I'm not going to bother hiding each title in an attempt to keep you glued to the screen, so I'll just list them up front. Nemesis Lockdown, Dwerve, Keplerth, Songs of Conquest, and No Captain Allowed. If you want to learn more about these games, then keep watching. Nemesis Lockdown is a digital adaptation of the board game by the same name. In Nemesis Lockdown, you and the other players take the role of characters on a secret Mars base infested by aliens. The danger of the situation demands that you work together to survive, but each of you has a secret objective to complete, and some objectives could require you to turn against one or more of the other players. While I haven't played Lockdown, I have played the board game version of the original Nemesis, and it's a great game. It manages to capture the tension of an aliens movie despite being a cardboard game on your table. I can only imagine that going digital really enhances that immersion. Nemesis Lockdown is currently in early access, but as far as I can tell, the game matches the board game already. It's mostly performance and quality of life features that still require implementation. It currently lacks a tutorial, for example. In my honest opinion, early access is a strange choice for the game. It's an adaptation, so its features are pretty much set in stone, and I doubt it's going to go beyond the capabilities of the board game. However, the concept of being able to play Nemesis online is an attractive one, and I'd love to see the game brought to life on screen. My tastes in games have largely shifted to where I can no longer enjoy games where you shut your brain off, and that unfortunately rules out most dungeon crawlers. Dwerve is different, however. It's a dungeon crawler where you play a tinkerer that takes on creatures with a tower defense style of gameplay. It's a unique combination, and one I'm really curious about. Placing defenses and traps in real time is undoubtedly going to be hectic, especially since you usually have plenty of time to think in most tower defense games. I'm really interested to see if it works out as smoothly as the trailer implies. There's definitely some potential for the game to be frustrating, but I've been following Dwerve for quite some time, and it looks like the developers know what they're doing. I have to really admire the fact that Dwerve isn't just another run-of-the-mill dungeon crawler, and that alone is kind of worth a look.
Monstrous creatures.
While Keplerth bears an uncanny resemblance to RimWorld, the games are very different. Keplerth is RimWorld if RimWorld was a survival RPG rather than a colony sim. While they are both technically survival games, in Keplerth you play as a single character and the game is much more action-focused. You can build a base, tame monsters, and farm crops, but also fend off invasions and go dungeon crawling. I'm particularly interested in the gene editing system as I'm hoping that it can make for relatively unique playstyles. You can also play the game in co-op, which is nice. Keplerth was in early access for quite a while, but recently had its 1.0 release. It also has workshop support, and that has some massive potential if it can manage to gain the popularity required to attract talented modders. Compared to most games that release every month, Songs of Conquest has made a few waves, but I still wanted to include it, however, as I myself didn't know about it until I went looking for games to include on this list. Songs of Conquest is basically Heroes of Might and Magic, and that's probably all I needed to say. It's in early access, but the meat of the game is ready. All 4 factions are playable, and it features 2 complete campaigns and online multiplayer. According to the developers, they are opting to learn what the players want to be added to the game as opposed to throwing out a massive roadmap that they may not be able to handle. I could get behind the early access tag easier if more developers were willing to put out games that are nearly feature complete, but are open to adding more based on player feedback, so I'll give the developers props for this one. Imagine Overcooked, but instead of screaming at each other in a kitchen disaster, you're screaming at each other amid a ship on a hostile planet. That's no captain allowed, except that you also have to vote on decisions such as ship upgrades or which paths you take. You have to work together to keep one of 4 types of ships running while also fending off borders and massive enemies. These types of party games can be a ton of fun with friends when designed well. The roguelite aspect is also interesting and should, in theory, make the failures less painful, as it's somewhat expected. The make it or break it is going to be how clunky the game is. I've played plenty of party games with potential that ended up suffering due to poor controls. This is another game that recently exited early access, which is an accomplishment in itself.
There are many paths to your way out. If you already know where to go, be quick and convince the crew, or they'll choose for you. And when you make the wrong choices, who cares? Try again with a new strategy, or a better crew. No captain allowed. Available now.
If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, consider liking and subscribing. I've also left several links down in the description below, including to my Patreon and Discord, but also to my website, where you can find the bulk of my written content. But in any case, thanks for watching, and until next time.